The wind howled across the white plains of a dead planet. The sun was a pale dot in the sky, weak and distant, giving no warmth. Ice cracked under his boots as Captain Ryan Hale walked forward, his breath turning to mist that froze in the air. His suit sensors beeped with low temperature warnings, but he kept moving. He had to find shelter before the storm swallowed him. It had been 2 days since his ship crashed. 2 long days of walking through snow and ice trying to stay alive. His radio was dead. The beacon was broken. His food was almost gone. The cold wasn't just biting anymore, it was sinking into his bones. He stopped for a moment, staring at the horizon. Nothing moved. No sound, no light, only endless white and the whisper of the storm. He had never felt so alone, but then he heard something, a faint sound like a whisper carried by the wind. He turned sharply, scanning the frozen plain. "Hello?" he called out, his voice muffled by the snowstorm. No answer came, only the low growl of the wind. He took a few more steps, heart pounding. The sound came again, closer this time. It wasn't the wind. It was a voice. Soft, weak, trembling. "Please." Ryan froze. Someone was out there. He followed the sound, moving carefully, his visor fogged with every breath. Finally, he saw it. A faint glow between 2 ice ridges. He climbed over one, and what he saw made him stop. There, half buried in snow, was a figure. Small. Fragile. Wrapped in a strange silver material that shimmered faintly even in the dim light. Her skin looked pale blue, her hair white as snow. She wasn't human. Her lips moved slightly as she whispered again, "Please, warmth." Ryan dropped to his knees beside her. Her eyes flickered open, bright and silver, reflecting the frozen world around them. For a moment they locked eyes and he felt something, fear, wonder, pity, all at once. "Can you hear me?" he asked, his voice shaking. She blinked slowly, her breathing shallow. "Cold, so cold." Ryan didn't think. He removed his glove and touched her arm. Her skin was like ice, colder than anything he had ever felt. His suit sensors screamed in warning, but he ignored them. "You'll die out here," he said. "Hold on." He lifted her carefully, carrying her toward a nearby ice cave he had passed earlier. Each step was heavy, his strength fading, but he didn't stop. He could feel her shivering against him, faint and weak. Inside the cave, he set her down and sealed the entrance with snow to block the wind. The cave was dark and small, but at least it was shelter. He pulled off his backpack and opened the small heating pod, his last emergency tool. He placed it between them and warmth began to spread slowly. She looked at the tiny orange light like it was a miracle. Her lips parted. "Warmth." Ryan nodded. "Stay close. You'll be fine." But she only stared at him, confused. Her voice was soft like a child's, but filled with strange melody. "You human?" He nodded again. "Yeah, Captain Ryan Hale, human." She tilted her head slightly. "Human." The word sounded strange on her tongue. For a long moment, neither spoke. The storm outside screamed, but inside the cave there was only silence and the soft hum of the heater. Then she shivered again, whispering, "Will you share your warmth with me, human?" Ryan hesitated. Her eyes looked so cold, yet so full of life. Something about her gaze felt ancient, like she had seen many winters, many deaths. He removed his outer jacket and placed it around her shoulders. "Here, take this." Her hand touched his. Even through the gloves, he felt a spark, a pulse of warmth that wasn't from the heater. She looked at him, eyes wide. "You share?" she whispered almost to herself. "No one ever shares." Ryan frowned. "What do you mean?" But she didn't answer. Her eyes fluttered closed and she fell into a deep sleep. He sat beside her, staring at the frozen cave walls. Who was she? How did she survive in this wasteland? Why did she know his language? Outside, the wind screamed louder like it was alive. Ryan looked at the sleeping girl and tightened his jacket around her. He didn't know who she was, but he knew one thing. If he let her die, something precious would be lost forever. As the storm raged outside, he whispered softly, "You'll live. I promise." And somewhere deep in the storm, something else whispered back. Something that wasn't human. When Ryan woke, the cave was silent except for the soft crackle of the heater. The storm outside had weakened, but a cold mist still crept in through the cracks. His body ached, his hands numb even inside the gloves. He turned toward the girl. She was awake, Her silver eyes were open now, calm and focused, watching him. She no longer looked like a dying creature. Instead, she seemed aware. Too aware. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence between them felt heavy, like a question neither could ask. Finally, Ryan broke it. "You feeling any better?" She blinked slowly. "Warmth stays, you shared." Her voice was soft but steady now, like music made of breath. He gave a small smile. "Good, you scared me out there." Her head tilted, curious. "Scared?" "It means afraid. Worried you would die." She frowned as if trying to understand. "Afraid to lose warmth?" Ryan chuckled dryly. "Something like that." He leaned back against the icy wall, watching her more carefully. She was strange. Her skin still shimmered faintly. Her hair seemed to move as if touched by invisible air. She wasn't human, that much was clear, but she wasn't like any alien he'd seen in the Alliance records either. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated, eyes narrowing. "Name forgotten." "Long sleep." "Too long. Long sleep?" Her gaze drifted to the cave wall as if she could see through it. "The ice took us. We slept beneath it, waiting for the sky to open again." Ryan frowned. "Who's us?" She turned her eyes back to him, and for the first time he saw something behind them. A shadow, maybe memory. "My kind. The ones who built the warmth towers." Before the sun grew weak, he felt his heartbeat quicken. Warmth towers. That sounded like technology. Ancient tech maybe buried under the ice. "You mean, this planet used to have a civilization?" She nodded slowly. Before silence came, he stared at her in disbelief. "You're saying your people lived here before it froze?" Her lips curved faintly, almost like a sad smile. "We did not live. We existed, we waited, but the waiting grew cold." Ryan didn't know what to say. He rubbed his hands together, trying to think. If what she said was true, he had just found evidence of an ancient alien race lost to time. That was bigger than any discovery in human history. But the way she spoke, it wasn't just ancient knowledge. It was personal. She remembered. "Why did you call for warmth?" he asked quietly. "You said no one ever shares." "What did you mean?" Her eyes lowered. "When the ice came, we turned against each other. We took warmth for ourselves. We forgot what it meant to give. So when I saw you, I thought maybe it was only a dream." Ryan felt a strange ache in his chest. He didn't fully understand her, but something about her loneliness felt real. She looked up again. "You are not like them. Your warmth is different. It does not fade," he swallowed. "It fades plenty, trust me. I'm just human. Human," she whispered again, testing the word. "Warm heart. Fragile body. Still you keep walking into the cold." Her gaze drifted toward the cave entrance. "Your kind still fights the silence?" Ryan didn't answer right away. He thought of the wrecked ship, of his lost crew, of the endless missions humanity sent into the void. "Yeah," he said finally. "We always fight. It's what keeps us alive." She nodded slowly, then whispered, "That is why you still have warmth." Before he could respond, a deep rumble echoed through the ground. The walls of the cave shivered. Ice dust fell from above. Ryan jumped up, pulling her close. "Earthquake," he muttered, but she shook her head. "No, it wakes." "What wakes?" She turned toward the sound, her eyes glowing faintly silver. "The old warmth. It feels your fire." A low hum began to rise from the ground. Ryan felt it in his chest, a vibration deep and rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. "What the hell is that?" he asked. "The core," she whispered. "It hears you." The glow from her skin grew brighter, and suddenly markings appeared across her arms, symbols made of light. She gasped, pressing her hands to her chest. Ryan grabbed her shoulders. "Hey, what's happening to you?" She looked up at him, her eyes shining. "I remember." And then the cave shook again, harder this time. Cracks split across the floor, and a blinding blue light burst from beneath the ice. Ryan shielded his face as the ground roared like thunder. When the light faded, she was standing, trembling but alive. The marks on her arms pulsed softly. "The warmth towers," she said, her voice steady now. "They are not dead." "You woke them." Ryan stared at her, stunned. "I woke them? How?" She stepped closer, her silver eyes locking with his. "Because you shared your heart, human, and the world remembers that warmth." The cave walls shimmered faintly as if the ice itself was listening. Ryan didn't understand it yet, but he could feel it. Something ancient had awakened, and it had started with him. and deep beneath the frozen ground something enormous moved in the dark. The blue light faded, leaving the cave quiet once more. Ryan stood there, chest heaving, his breath white in the air. The girl, no, the being, was still standing, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. The strange symbols on her arms pulsed like veins of fire under her skin. For a moment he didn't move. He could still feel the vibration beneath his boots. It wasn't just an earthquake, it was something alive deep inside the planet. "What did I wake?" Ryan asked finally, his voice low. She turned her gaze toward the ice wall as if she could see beyond it. "The heart," she whispered. "It sleeps below the frozen sea. It once gave warmth to all who lived here." "The heart?" She nodded. "It is what we built to keep the sun alive. But when we lost our kindness, the heart lost its fire. It froze, like us." Ryan's mind raced. A planetary core machine? An energy reactor? If what she said was true, there might be a massive power source under the surface, something old and powerful. He frowned. "You're saying this planet had technology that could keep a star alive?" Her lips curved slightly. "It was not just technology. It was will. The will to share warmth. Without that, it dies." Ryan rubbed his temples. "You make it sound like the machine has feelings." Her eyes glowed brighter. "It does not think, it feels. It answers hearts, not commands." Ryan stared at her. The way she spoke, half truth, half mystery, made his head spin. "You said it woke because of me. That can't be right." "I didn't do anything." She looked at him quietly. "You shared your warmth with a stranger. That is enough." The words lingered in the cold air like smoke. Then the ground rumbled again, deeper this time. A faint hum began to echo outside, coming from beneath the snow. Ryan stepped to the cave entrance, brushing away the frost from the opening. What he saw made his heart skip a beat. Far away across the white plain, beams of faint blue light were rising through the ice, tall columns stretching into the sky. One, two, then dozens of them, like frozen towers waking after a long dream. He turned to the girl. "Those are the warmth towers you talked about, aren't they?" She nodded slowly. "They hear the heart. They remember." Ryan's radio suddenly crackled to life. A burst of static filled his helmet. "Captain Hale, do you copy?" "This is command. We've detected massive energy spikes from your coordinates." Ryan's eyes widened. "Command? I'm alive. Repeat, I'm alive. You have to see this. Something under the ice is—" The radio cut off with a sharp hiss, static. Then silence again. He hit the side of the communicator, frustration rising. "Damn it, signal's gone." The girl watched him with quiet curiosity. "You speak to others far away?" "Yeah," he said, sighing. "Or at least I try to." She walked closer, the light from her skin softly illuminating the cave. "Your kind still reaches for voices beyond the sky." "That is good." He looked at her. "You talk like you've been watching us." Her eyes lowered. "We watched long ago, when your kind was still learning fire." Ryan blinked. "Wait, what?" She lifted her gaze, and for a moment he saw something in her expression. Sadness, regret, maybe even guilt. "We saw you rise. We saw you fight your storms. You reminded us of what we had lost." Ryan's heart pounded. "You mean your people saw humanity?" She nodded. "The stars carry whispers. Your warmth reached us even through the void. That is why I waited. I knew one day a human would come." He didn't know what to say. His throat felt dry. "You were waiting for me?" "Not you," she said softly. "Someone with a heart still burning." Outside, the lights of the towers flickered like stars trapped in ice. The hum grew louder, and Ryan felt a strange pull in his chest, a warmth that wasn't from the heater or his suit. Then she suddenly gasped and fell to her knees, clutching her chest. The symbols on her arms flared white-hot. Ryan rushed to her side. "Hey, what's happening?" Her voice trembled. "The heart calls me. It remembers who I was." She looked up at him, pain in her eyes. "I'm not only one of them. I was the keeper of the heart." "The what?" "The one who fed it warmth," she whispered. "When I lost my faith, the world froze." Ryan's breath caught. "You caused the ice age?" She nodded weakly. "Because I stopped believing in warmth, in kindness, in us." The ground shook violently, and outside one of the blue towers exploded in a shower of light. The cave trembled. Chunks of ice fell from the ceiling. Ryan grabbed her hand. "We have to get out of here." She looked at him, her silver eyes glowing fiercely now. "If I go to the heart, it may wake fully." But if I fail, it will bury this world and you with it. Ryan clenched his jaw. Then I'm coming with you. She stared at him for a long moment, as if searching his soul. Then she whispered, You would walk into the ice for me? He nodded. You asked for my warmth. You've got it. All of it. Her lips trembled. For the first time, she smiled. Then maybe the heart will believe again. And as they stepped out into the frozen storm together, the towers around them began to sing, low, haunting, alive. Something ancient had begun to stir, and humanity's warmth had lit the first spark. The world outside had changed. As Ryan and the girl stepped out of the cave, the storm had fallen silent. The wind no longer screamed. Instead, a deep, steady hum filled the air. Blue light shimmered across the endless plains, glowing beneath the ice like rivers of fire trapped in glass. The warmth towers stretched toward the sky, pulsing in rhythm, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. The girl's silver hair glowed faintly as she walked, leaving small footprints in the snow. Ryan followed close behind, his suit scanner flickering with readings he couldn't understand. This energy, he muttered. It's rewriting the atmosphere. Oxygen levels are rising. She nodded without looking back. The heart remembers how to breathe. Ryan stared at her. You keep saying that. The heart remembers. How can a machine remember? She stopped and turned, her silver eyes soft but full of sorrow. Because it was never just a machine. It was built with feeling, our hope, our love, our fear. It reflects whoever touches it. Ryan frowned. So it reacts to emotion? She nodded. It reacts to warmth. That is why it died when we stopped sharing. For a long moment they stood there, surrounded by the silent glow. Ryan could feel the weight of her words pressing on him. The thought that emotion, something as fragile as kindness, could power a whole world seemed impossible. And yet here they were. Where is it? He asked finally. She pointed toward the far horizon where the ice glowed brighter. Beneath the frozen sea, the heart sleeps below. Ryan tightened his gloves and took a deep breath. Then let's go wake it. They walked for hours across the icy plain. The towers around them hummed louder as they moved closer to the center. The sky above began to change color, glowing with faint auroras of gold and green. Ryan's suit sensors pinged constantly, warning of energy spikes, radiation, and unstable ground. But he ignored them. The girl, he still didn't know her name, moved with calm purpose like she had walked this path before. Finally, they reached a massive crater. At its center lay a frozen lake, smooth as glass and glowing blue from beneath. The girl stopped at the edge, her breath shallow. It's here, she whispered. The heart lies below. Ryan stared into the depths. The light moved slowly beneath the ice, pulsing like a sleeping creature. How do we reach it? She turned to him, her eyes shimmering. The ice is alive. It will open only for warmth. Before he could ask what she meant, she knelt down, pressing her glowing hands against the frozen surface. The symbols on her arms flared bright white, and the air around them shimmered. The ice began to melt, slowly, carefully, forming a spiral path downward into the glowing depths. Ryan stared in disbelief. You're doing this? She smiled faintly. The heart still listens to me. He followed her down the spiral path step by step, the blue light growing stronger with each turn. The air became warmer, humid even. He could see shapes under the ice, giant structures made of crystal and metal, ancient and beautiful. When they reached the bottom, a massive gate stood before them. It was circular, made of silver-like material covered in symbols that pulsed faintly. Ryan reached out and touched the surface. It felt warm, alive. What is this? He whispered. The last door, she said softly. Only 2 hearts can open it. Ryan looked at her confused. 2 hearts? She met his eyes. Mine alone is not enough. I am bound by the guilt of what I did. The heart no longer trusts me. He frowned. So you need me, she nodded. Your warmth woke me. It might wake it too. Ryan took a deep breath. What do I do? Place your hand beside mine, she said. He did. Their palms touched the door, and immediately a surge of light burst outward. The symbols flared to life, spinning slowly like stars. Ryan gasped. He could feel something inside his chest, an echo, a pull, like the heart of the planet was beating with his own. Then he saw flashes, memories, not his. A vast city of silver towers bathed in sunlight, people made of light walking together, sharing warmth through touch. Then darkness, cold storms swallowing the sky, screams, silence. He pulled his hand back, panting. I saw them. Your people. I saw everything. She looked at him with tears in her silver eyes. Then you know why it must wake. The door cracked open with a thunderous sound and blinding light poured through the gap. Ryan shielded his eyes as heat rushed over him, warm and pure. When the light faded, they stood before a colossal chamber. In its center floated a sphere of golden fire wrapped in crystal veins. The heart. It pulsed slowly, each beat sending waves of warmth through the air. Ryan stepped forward, awe in his voice. It's beautiful. The girl nodded, but her face was sad. It remembers joy and pain. The heart's glow brightened as if sensing them. Then a voice, not from the air but inside Ryan's mind, spoke softly. Warmth shared, life remembered. Will you complete the circle? Ryan looked at her, speechless. It's talking to me. She smiled faintly. No, human. It's feeling you. But before he could reply, the chamber trembled violently. Cracks split across the walls. The light darkened, turning from gold to crimson. Her eyes widened in fear. No, but it senses my guilt. Ryan grabbed her arm. Then we make it see something stronger. What? She asked desperately. He looked into her eyes and said, Hope. The golden light of the heart flickered, turning deep red. The air grew heavy, pressing against Ryan's chest like invisible hands. The ground shook beneath their feet and the temperature dropped again. Frost crawled up the walls of the chamber, spreading fast. The girl stumbled, clutching her chest. It remembers my failure, she whispered. It remembers the day I turned away from warmth. Ryan grabbed her shoulders. Then we'll remind it what warmth feels like. But before he could move closer, the heart roared. A sound like 1,000 storms filled the chamber. The golden sphere expanded, blinding light shooting outward. Ryan shielded his eyes, but when he looked again, everything had changed. He was no longer standing in the ice chamber. He was on a vast plain of glass, under a red sky. The girl was gone. The warmth was gone. Only cold wind and silence remained. Then from the distance came a voice, not hers, not human. Deep echoing and filled with sorrow. Human, do you know what warmth means? Ryan turned in circles. Where are you? What is this? This is your test, the voice replied. Show me the warmth that made you worthy. The ground split open before him, revealing shadowy figures crawling out, twisted shapes of ice and smoke. Their eyes glowed red and their movements were slow but relentless. Ryan stepped back, heart racing. What are they? They are what remains when warmth dies, the voice said. Show me your heart, human, or be frozen forever. Ryan clenched his fists. His weapon was gone. His suit systems were dead. But he remembered her words. The heart reacts to feeling. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. The first shadow lunged, claws made of ice. He dodged, rolling across the cold glass. Pain shot through his shoulder, but he stood again. I'm not afraid of you, he said through clenched teeth. I've faced worse. The shadows hissed, circling him. You think warmth is strength, the voice said. But warmth is weakness, it fades. It dies. Ryan shouted back, warmth is what makes life worth living. The shadows lunged again, dozens of them this time. He fought with his bare hands, striking and dodging, but they were endless. His breath grew short, his strength fading fast. He fell to his knees, trembling. Frost crawled up his arms. The world dimmed, and then he heard her voice, soft, distant, but clear. Ryan, don't let the cold take you. He lifted his head. The girl stood at the edge of the horizon, her silver light shining through the storm. You're not alone, she said. Share it again like before. Ryan's heart pounded. He closed his eyes and remembered that first night in the cave. Her freezing hand in his, her whisper asking for warmth. He opened his hands and spoke into the storm. If warmth is weakness, then I'll be weak forever. A light burst from his chest, golden, bright, alive. It spread through his arms, his voice growing stronger. Because even one weak flame can light a frozen world. The red sky cracked like glass. The shadows screamed and dissolved into mist. The light around Ryan grew until it filled everything. When the world faded back into the chamber, he was on his knees, panting. His suit glowed faintly with golden light. The heart was no longer red, it was warm again, golden and soft. The girl knelt beside him, tears on her cheeks. You did it, she whispered. You showed it your warmth. Ryan looked up at the heart. No, we did. The heart pulsed, sending a wave of heat through the chamber. The frost melted, turning into glittering water that floated in the air like tiny stars. Then the voice returned, gentler this time. Two flames shared. One past forgiven, one future awakened. The girl gasped as the symbols on her arms shifted, glowing gold instead of white. The guilt that had haunted her seemed to lift from her shoulders. She looked at Ryan, her eyes bright. It forgave me. After all this time, Ryan smiled faintly. Guess it just needed proof that we still care. But the warmth in the air began to change again, stronger, wilder. The heart's pulse grew louder, faster. Ryan frowned. What's happening now? She turned to the sphere, alarmed. It's giving back the warmth it stored. The world is waking. Outside, the ice cracked open in massive sheets. Towers roared to life, releasing columns of steam. The air shimmered with rising heat. Ryan stumbled as the ground shook violently. We have to get out of here. She shook her head. No, it must be guided or it will destroy itself. He stared at her. What do you mean? The heart cannot tell how much is too much. It will burn everything to keep giving. Ryan grabbed her hand. Then we stop it together. She hesitated, then nodded. Together. They stood before the heart, two figures against the storm of light. The air burned hot, the walls cracking, but neither moved. She reached toward the sphere, her voice trembling. If I lose myself again, promise me you'll remember my warmth. Ryan held her hand tightly. You're not losing anything. You're coming back with me. Their hands touched the surface of the heart, and the world exploded with light. Light filled everything. It was not just bright, and it was alive. It moved like wind and burned like memory. Ryan felt his body lift from the ground. The heart's golden fire wrapped around him and the girl, spinning them through a storm of color. He tried to speak, but his voice vanished in the roar of energy. Then silence. When the light cleared, they stood in the center of a vast, glowing sphere. Around them floated shapes made of fire, memories of a world long gone. Ryan saw cities of silver towers rising under twin suns, beings of light walking hand in hand, sharing warmth that glowed from their chests. It was beautiful and heartbreaking. The girl stood beside him, her silver hair floating like a halo. These are the echoes, she whispered. The last dream of my people. Ryan turned slowly, eyes wide. It's incredible. Her smile was soft but sad. The heart remembers everything. Even the moment we fell, the scene changed. The light dimmed. The sky darkened. Ryan saw those same beings turning against each other, stealing warmth, closing their hands around their own light until it burned them from within. Then came the storms, the ice, and the silence. He clenched his fists. You weren't evil. You were afraid. She looked at him. Fear kills warmth faster than cold ever can. As she spoke, cracks began to appear in the golden sphere around them. Flames burst outward, spreading too fast. The heart's pulse grew wild, desperate. Ryan shouted, It's overheating. She nodded grimly. It cannot control the flood of energy. It waited too long. Now it burns without end. Ryan looked around. There must be a way to release the extra energy safely. There is, she said quietly. But it requires a host. Someone to share their life with the heart to steady its rhythm. He turned to her sharply. A host? You mean someone has to merge with it? She nodded once. The heart was made to bond with a keeper. It was always me. That was my purpose. Before I failed, Ryan shook his head. No, you can't. You just got your life back. She stepped closer, her eyes glowing gold, now soft but determined. I lost my warmth once. I will not lose it again. If I can save this world, even for one more sunrise, and it is enough. He grabbed her wrist. There has to be another way. There is none, she said gently. But there is something you can do. What? Remember. Her hand touched his chest, right over his heart. Carry the warmth with you. Tell your kind what it means to give. Ryan's throat tightened. I can't let you die for this, she smiled. Not sad, but peaceful. Death is cold only when it is empty. You gave mine warmth again. The heart flared, shaking the ground. The temperature rose, searing hot. Cracks of fire raced across the chamber walls. Ryan held her tighter. If you're going, then I'm staying too. She looked up at him, tears shimmering like molten gold. Humans, she whispered. Always stubborn, he grinned weakly. You said it yourself. We keep walking into the cold. For a moment, the chaos around them seemed to fade. The light grew softer. She reached up and brushed his cheek, and her hand warm, real. Then share it with me one last time. Their foreheads touched. The heart pulsed once, twice, then burst open in a wave of light so bright it swallowed the world. When Ryan opened his eyes again, he was lying on soft ground. The air was warm. The sky above was blue, painted with streaks of gold. Around him, the once frozen plain was now a living sea of water and light. Steam rose from the melting ice, forming clouds that shimmered in the new dawn. He sat up slowly, his suit cracked and scorched, his body aching. "I'm alive," he whispered. The radio in his helmet crackled. "Captain Hale." "Ryan, do you read?" He blinked. "Command? You're getting me?" "Your signal's clear. Sensors show massive climate shift across the region. What happened down there?" Ryan looked toward the horizon. The heart's light now glowed beneath the waves, calm and golden. The world was alive again. He smiled faintly. "Just a little warmth." There was no answer from the girl, only the wind, and soft, almost like a whisper. He looked up at the sky and said quietly, "You did it." For a brief moment, a silver light flickered in the clouds, gentle, graceful, like someone smiling goodbye. Ryan stood, his heart heavy, yet warm. Humanity had come to this frozen world for discovery, but he had found something far greater. The truth that warmth wasn't just heat or fire, it was kindness. It was sacrifice. It was the courage to share. And in that moment, as he watched the first sunrise melt across the new ocean, Ryan Hale knew this planet would live again, because one being chose to believe in the warmth of a human heart. The sun had finally risen. For the first time in centuries, its light touched the world's surface, not cold and weak, but alive and golden. Steam drifted across the endless sea of melted ice. The towers that once slept beneath the snow now stood tall again, glowing faintly like giant beacons. Ryan Hale stood on the highest ridge, his helmet off, breathing warm air for the first time in weeks. The wind no longer burned with frost. It carried life, the scent of water, earth, and something new growing. He looked out at the horizon. The heart's golden light pulsed beneath the waves, slow and steady like a heartbeat, but she was gone. He touched the small silver crystal hanging from his neck, the one that had fallen from her when the heart exploded. It shimmered faintly in his palm, warm to the touch. "You kept your promise," he whispered. Behind him, a shuttle descended through the clouds, engines roaring softly. Dust and steam swirled around as the craft landed. The door opened and two figures in white suits stepped out. "Captain Hale," one of them shouted. "We thought you were dead." Ryan smiled faintly. "Almost." They ran toward him, eyes wide at the sight of the reborn landscape. "My God, this whole planet, it's alive. The sensors show massive oxygen levels, stable heat, liquid water." He nodded. "Yeah, it's breathing again." The second crew member looked confused. "How?" "There was nothing here but ice and storms." "What did you do?" Ryan looked at the glowing horizon. "I didn't do it alone. They helped him aboard the shuttle." As it lifted into the air, Ryan watched the planet below. Once a graveyard, now a newborn world. Clouds of gold and white swirled where storms once raged. The warmth towers flickered like stars rising from the surface. The girl's voice echoed faintly in his mind, soft as memory. "Share it with your kind, human. Tell them what warmth truly means." He closed his eyes and whispered, "I will." The return days later, the fleet's main ship, Sol Voyager, floated in orbit above the revived planet. Scientists, engineers, and commanders crowded around Ryan's recorded logs. His helmet camera had captured everything: the frozen wasteland, the mysterious girl, the awakening of the heart. When the video ended, silence filled the briefing room. Commander Reyes leaned forward, eyes wide. "You're telling me an ancient alien built a planetary core powered by emotion?" Ryan nodded. "Not emotion, connection." The heart reacted to shared warmth. "To kindness," Reyes frowned. "That's not science." Ryan looked at him calmly. "Neither is hope, but it works." The room stayed quiet. No one argued. Finally, a younger officer spoke softly. "So, she's gone?" Ryan nodded once. "Her body, maybe, but not her warmth." He opened his palm, revealing the silver crystal. Its faint glow reflected in everyone's eyes. She gave me this before the end. I think it's a fragment of the heart. It still pulses sometimes, like it's listening. The message that night Ryan sat alone by the ship's window staring at the planet below. The blue ocean shimmered under twin moons. New clouds formed, shaping patterns that looked almost alive. He activated his recorder and began to speak slowly, his voice steady but filled with emotion. This message is for the people of Earth, and for anyone who will listen. We always thought survival was about strength, about power, but I've learned something different. Life survives because it shares. A flame alone dies fast, but when one light touches another, it grows. I saw a world reborn because one being believed in a single human act of kindness. If warmth can wake a planet, imagine what it can do for us. He stopped for a moment, eyes misting. Her name was never spoken. Maybe she didn't have one. But I'll give her one now, he smiled faintly. I'll call her Aria. It means light of kindness. The recording ended. The legacy weeks later, the new planet was named Aria 1. Humanity built research bases along its thawed coasts, studying the ancient towers, learning how emotion and energy intertwined. They called it the warmth theory, but for Ryan it was simpler. Every morning he stood outside the base, letting the soft wind brush against his face. Sometimes when the sun rose just right, he swore he could see her reflection in the waves, silver hair glowing, smiling softly. He would whisper, "You were right." Warmth never fades, and sometimes the air would grow a little warmer, as if the planet itself answered back. The ending. Flame years later, long after Ryan Hale had passed, explorers found a new structure deep beneath the ocean of Area 1. It was not alien, it was human. Built from ship metal and heart crystal, inside it burned a steady golden light, and carved into the wall were simple words. Here rests two flames that refused to die. The alien who believed again, the human who shared his heart. Above it, the heart's glow pulsed one last time, and then across the calm ocean dawn broke, warm, golden, endless.